Sorry about that. Okay, so let's look at 1a. They gave you that cubic equation. I subbed in 1 first and it worked, right? It made the whole thing equal to 0. Guys, did they say in the instruction using factor theorem, or did they mention factor theorem at all? No, so that means that you don't have to show what you subbed in. All right, so you can actually just factorize and solve. Only if they ask you using factor theorem or show that this is a factor, those types of questions that we did yesterday, just hang on, then you will have to write those steps. If you did, you won't lose marks. You're just going to waste time. Okay, so just be aware of that. Don't write those steps if they're not asking you to.
So you know factor theorem if there are 4 terms.
If it's a cubic equation. If it's an x to the 3, then you use factor theorem. Okay, are we fine with that first one, guys? So your first bracket is x minus 1 because you subbed in 1, positive 1, and it worked. So your bracket is in x minus 1. Then you say, what must you multiply x by to get x cubed? That's x squared, right? Your middle term here is negative x squared. It needs to be positive x squared, so you need a plus 2x squared, which you're going to get from that product there, x times 2x. All right, what must you multiply negative 1 by to get positive 8? Negative 8. Okay, then this is not a difficult trinomial to factorize. You're looking for factors of 8. The difference between those factors must be 2. Positive 2, so I went with positive 4 and negative 2, and then you write your 3 values for x. So guys, if you wrote that whole factor theorem thing out every time, just do what we did in class yesterday, do a little bracket next to it and say only if specified. Okay, just to save yourself some time. Like I said, it's not wrong, it's just we obviously need to not waste time on steps that are not required. Okay. Are there any questions on that first one? For the second one, you just first had to move the 20 over to that side. You had to make it a minus 20, negative 20. Then I subbed in 1, that didn't work. I then subbed in negative 1, and that did work. So that's why my bracket is x plus 1. Right, I then use this bracket to get my trinomial. Then you ask yourself factors of 20. The difference between them must be positive 1. So I went with 5 and negative 4. Right, 5 minus 4 is 1. So then you are getting your 3 x values, yeah? That's fine. So then, because 4 is an answer. It's just that your working is going to be different, but it's fine. As long as you're still getting the same 3 values in the end, that's okay.
The only possible thing could be that x is 1, x is 5, x.
Yeah. Okay. See, guys, that second term was supposed to be a plus.
Oh.
Sorry about that. I had to go do some digging in the teacher's guide. I had to see what their answer was, and then I had to multiply it out to figure out what the question was actually supposed to say. So I didn't do it because you obviously wouldn't have done this one. So maybe if you want to have some extra practice, then you can just fix that one. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that when I set the questions. If you tried to factorize this, you would have gotten, I think, 2 complex numbers and 1 decimal. Is that correct? Not? Is it 3 ones with decimals? Yeah. Yeah, it would, I mean, you wouldn't actually be able to do it. So you won't get a question like this in grade 10, 11, or 12, core or AP. All right, you will always get 1 real solution at least, and then the other 2 might be complex. We'll look at that today, but you will have to have at least 1, and 1 that's not decimal. This is AP work. Yeah. No, all right, so let's look at F and H. There we go. Take over class. It was quite nice. So guys, I just want to reiterate, I have said it already, but I don't know if everyone heard. Thank you. Your first solution doesn't have to be the same as mine. Okay, so for F, for example, you might have subbed in -3 before you subbed in 2 for some reason. So then your first bracket will be x plus 3. Then your trinomial will obviously be different. But then when you factorize your trinomial, you will get the other two brackets that I have. Okay, so it doesn't actually matter. I'm looking at lines 3 and 4. Those two lines don't have to be exactly the same as mine. Your three answers have to be the same, yes. Okay, so whatever brackets you are getting, those three brackets need to give you those three answers. Okay, but you can do them in a different order, yeah? For the trinomial part. Yeah. You shouldn't. You must have used it wrong there. Did anyone else get -3 and -1/3 for the trinomial there? Yeah.
I did X. So I was bracket I got was X plus
Okay.
that's my head, and then I have to use
So let me see if you have x plus 3,
my father.
then you would have 3x squared. So this is now 9x. You need 4x, yeah, minus 5x. And then 3 must be -6 minus 2.
That's not. I did my
Should be minus 2. Okay, any other questions, guys? No questions. Cool. Yes? Oh, it is? Why is it -5x? But if you have this, it's 9x squared. You have to do a minus 5. You might have to minus 5. Yeah. Okay. 5. Okay, let's see. So if your first bracket in H is x minus 3, let's see what that trinomial will be. Okay, then we're going to have x squared, right? X times x squared is x cubed. This is minus 3x squared. We need minus 9x squared, so you're going to do minus 6x. And then you need a -24. You have -3, so it's going to be plus 8. And then you must factorize that. So factors of 8, the sum of which must be -6, is going to be -4 and -2. So did you maybe just make a mistake in your trinomial? Okay, guys, you are going to practice more of these today, a whole bunch, but what we're going to do now might have irrational answers. You know what irrational is now, hey? Now Miss Johnson told you all of that stuff. Just get to what page was this one? Oh, it's looking on it. Yes, the decimal that doesn't stop. If the thing doesn't follow any like pattern. They are like 7 of them, and they all just numbers. Okay. I'm looking at exercise 3.4 in the AP textbook. Exercise 3.4. Sorry, let me write it down for you. Yeah. It starts on page 43. You are going to do numbers 4, 5. In a way, yes. Okay, you are doing those. You're gonna shout at me. I'm ready. Shout. Come on. There's a lot. I'm ready. I'm ready for you guys. Oh, you've disappointed me, man.
Oh no, we don't work.
No, you have 45 minutes. I will. Write that down. Are you fine? If you put it down, I'm going to put it on the board, please. Are you ready? Let's see how it goes. If it takes you forever, then I'll make it a bit late. But if you're sitting, thank you. now and you're chatting, and then at the end of the lesson you want to say, oh ma'am, I only got through 3 questions. Sorry, that's on you. So if you are now working, I can see that you are actively working, but it is taking longer than I anticipate, then I will take away some of the final questions. But you have to prove to me that you are actually working, please. What's your question? Yes. All right, number 4. Listen up, let me help you. They are now saying, sorry, let me just switch this light on. Maybe that will help a bit. They are now saying using the factor theorem. So guys, you're still going to find your first bracket by doing that trial and error thing. Okay, but then you do have to show now which number you're subbing in and which number is making equal to 0. Therefore, this bracket is a factor. Then you're still going to find your trinomial in the same way. All right, that step is still the same. But now they're saying for complex roots. So that means that some of those trinomials, maybe not all of them, maybe all of them, I'm not sure, will have complex roots. Now you need to go back in your notes and you need to go remind yourselves, how do I actually solve a quadratic equation that has complex roots? Right? If you can't factorize it, you put it into the quadratic formula. Yes? If in your square root you have a negative number, that means that you have complex roots. Okay, then unfortunately you can't work that out on the calculator. You're going to have to say it's the square root of negative 17. You're going to have to write that as root 17i. Right? And then get your answers like that. So we have done factor theorem, we have done complex roots separately. Now we're putting those two together. Okay, so see if you can do that. I'll work through the first one now quickly, and then in a couple of minutes I'll put it up on the board so that you can see an example. But see if you can do it, guys. I'm sure you will be able to. Yes, absolutely.